Hi, I'm Muhammad Hamdan and this is Nightline, the top stories. Emulate Prophet Muhammad's noble character in speaking the truth, decrees Agong. And government rejects proposal to increase local white rice ceiling price. Good morning. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has called on the people to emulate the Prophet Muhammad's noble character in speaking the truth, being honest and avoiding slander and lies. The king also urged the people to take heed of the fall and collapse of civilizations and the great powers of the world due to the culture of slander that dominated and festered in the lives of its people. Al-Sultan Abdullah pointed out that the phenomenon of slander also led to a tragic event in Islamic history through the assassination of the third Caliph, Saidina Uthman Affan.
Demikian hebat hakikat fitnah dan tipu daya yang bukan sahaja telah menumpahkan darah seorang pemimpin Islam yang agung, malahan telah turut menghancurkan keharmonian dan kestabilan sesebuah negara. Kerana itulah Allah SWT mengingatkan seluruh umat Islam untuk menghindari serta menjauhi orang-orang yang tidak bercakap benar, sebagaimana yang berfirmankan dalam surah Al-Qalam ayat ke-10 hingga ke-11.
The king said this in conjunction with the national level of 2023 Maulidur Rasul celebration at the Putrajaya International Convention Centre PICC in Putrajaya on Thursday. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong also said he is optimistic that Malaysia will reach the peak of real success when Islamic law and the Prophet's noble character serve as the basis of the country's governance. Al-Sultan Abdullah added that Maqasid Sharia should be used as a basic framework in the delivery of services so that the welfare of the people, which is the government's responsibility, continues to be safeguarded. Also present at the celebration were Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Hajah Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria, as well as Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim and his wife Datin Sri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail. Now, this is Maulidur Rasul in observance of the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, was also celebrated nationwide in a lively atmosphere, including with parades and salawat or praises to exalt love for the Prophet. In Perak, the Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Shah, and Raja Permaisuri of Perak, Tuanku Zara Salim, attended the state-level celebration held at the Casuarina Meru Convention Centre in Ipoh at 10 a.m. The gathering, which was joined by about 2,000 people, started with the rendition of Perak State Anthem, followed by Asma al-Husna and Quran recitation. Sultan Nazrin also presented several awards, including the Zaid bin Thabit Award for Media Practitioners, which was received by New Straits Times Press Malaysia Berhad Group Managing Editor and Berita Harian Group Editor, Dato' Ahmad Zaini Kamaruzzaman. In Selangor, Raja Muda of Selangor, Tengku Amir Shah Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah attended the state-level gathering at the Sultan Salahuddin Abdulaziz Shah Mosque in Shah Alam. He was accompanied by State Secretary Datuk Haris Kasim and State Islamic Affairs and Innovation Committee Chairman Dr. Fahmi Ngah. Tengku Amir Shah also launched the My Rada'ah system, which is online registration for children and Ibu Susuan or milk kinship, aimed at safeguarding nasab or direct family lineage. Elsewhere, Tunku Mahkota of Johor, Tunku Ismail Sultan Ibrahim led the state-level procession in Muar, accompanied by Menteri Besar Dr. On Hafiz Ghazi and State Islamic Religious Affairs Committee Chairman Muhammad Farid Muhammad Khalid. Almost 10,000 Muslims, including 60 contingents from government departments and agencies, private sector and non-governmental organizations, as well as the local community, joined the procession, which started at about 8 a.m. from the Muar District Office and ended at the Sultan Ibrahim Mosque. In Pahang, Tengku Panglima Raja Tengku Amir Nasir Ibrahim Shah Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah attended the state-level gathering at Pahang Sports Complex Stadium in Kuantan. Among the programs lined up was a procession which commenced as early as 7:45 a.m. and saw the participation of 25 contingents, including government agencies, uniformed bodies, private sector, Ma'had Tahfiz and school students, in addition to religious talks and nasheed performances. In Sarawak, the drizzle did not dampen the spirit of more than 10,000 participants from 248 contingents representing various departments and agencies who gathered for the assembly and parade at Padang Merdeka Kuching. The event, which started at 7:30 a.m, was attended by Sarawak Yang di-Pertua Negeri Tun Abdul Taib Mahmud, who made his first public appearance after spending about 2 months abroad recuperating from a surgery in Turki. Also present was Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Upeng, as well as the state government leadership. Meanwhile, nearly 7,000 Muslims in Malacca participated in a 4-kilometer procession from Tun Fatimah Stadium, Bukit Serindit, to Dataran Pusat Islam Malacca, Bukit Pala. As early as 7 a.m, people from various walks of life, as well as personnel from state and federal government agencies and NGOs, marched in several contingents while reciting the salawat. Moving on, the first meeting of the reactivated Interfaith Harmony Committee to act as a medium of discussion between religious leaders to resolve issues related to religion and race will be held next month. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Dr. Muhammad Naim Mokhtar, said the meeting will be co-chaired by him and National Unity Minister Dr. Aaron Agodagang.
Jawatankuasa Harmoni ini yang akan menjadi jurucakap kita untuk menjelaskan kepada orang-orang bukan Islam tentang Islam itu sendiri.
Naim added that the Harmony Committee will also play an important role in organising various programs for the purpose of strengthening unity between races. He also said that during the first meeting, they will identify those who will be members of the committee, which will comprise Muslim leaders and representatives of other religions practiced in the country. The Harmony Committee was established on August 14, 2020, as an official consultation body to strengthen mutual understanding and harmony among the various communities in Malaysia, but it has been inactive of late.
This week on Money Matters, American companies are looking to invest in Malaysia. What opportunities will they have? To remain competitive, how are American firms working with Malaysian businesses? And what support do American businesses need in the Mandani Economic Framework? Join us with AmCham Chairman Anthony Lee this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and live HD stream on Tonton.
The government has rejected a proposal to increase the ceiling price of local white rice from 26 ringgit to 34 ringgit per 10 kilograms. The Agriculture and Food Security Ministry said the retail price for the rice will stay and be controlled at 2 ringgit 60 cent per kilogram. In a statement issued on Thursday, the ministry highlighted that its decision to permit restaurant associations, food entrepreneurs and hawkers to buy imported white rice at the wholesale price of 160 ringgit for every 50 kilograms was reached during an engagement session with the group held on September 15th. The aim is to assist them in managing their operating expenses and to ensure that the price of rice is not raised. The ministry added that such effort can also ensure the stability of local white rice supply by reducing large purchases by this group for business use. This measure was also taken by the ministry to balance the rice needs for businesses and households amid the high demand for local white rice currently. In a report by news portal Free Malaysia Today on Wednesday, Maidin Hypermarket Managing Director Dr. Amir Ali Maidin said the government should raise the ceiling price for local white rice to tackle the supply shortage. He claimed that local millers were discouraged from producing rice due to its current low ceiling price. Meanwhile, Padi Beras Nasional Berhad or Bernas has assured a sufficient supply of white rice to meet the needs of consumers in the country. The National Rice Company said it has distributed 630,000 metric tons of white rice from January to August this year, which was a 38% increase as compared to average monthly sales of the staple in the past 5 years. In a statement on Thursday, Bernas said the figure showed that the supply of white rice is more than sufficient without the government having to use a buffer stockpile. It also clarified that the increase in the demand for local white rice was caused by a shift in demand among consumers, contract providers and other food industry players, resulting from the price difference between local rice and imported rice. Despite this, Bernas added that it is always committed to and supports all intervention programs implemented by the Agriculture and Food Security Ministry in order to ensure the supply of local rice. On September 1st, Bernas announced it was raising the ceiling price of imported white rice nationwide from 2,350 ringgit to 3,200 ringgit per tonne. It said factors such as climate change, weakening foreign exchange rates, high operational costs and regional conflicts had impacted the global rice trading market, which was further compounded by India banning the export of white rice in July. The Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry has issued a notice instructing Gardenia Bakeries KL Sdn Bhd to explain why it is raising the prices of selected bread products from October 1st. Its Deputy Minister Fuzia Saleh said the ministry issued the notice on Wednesday and the company needed to respond within 6 days as an unreasonable price increase could burden consumers. According to Fuzia, the company is required to justify the price hike and explain its entire supply chain, as well as the costs involved, such as the price of flour used, transport costs, wholesale and retail. She added based on their response, the ministry would then determine whether the price increase of the food items was rational or could be considered profiteering. Fuzia also said the ministry could not prevent a company from raising the price of their goods, but it could be controlled through the Price Control and Anti-Profitability Act. Previously, the bread producer, through a media statement, confirmed a new price list involving 30 of its products, which would see an increase of between 10 and 40 cents. However, the prices of its white bread, wholemeal bread and non-white bread series will remain unchanged. The number of flood victims in Kedah continued to increase to nearly 2,000 people on Thursday night. According to Kedah Malaysian Civil Defence Force Disaster Management Secretariat, 1,879 people have been evacuated as of 10 p.m, compared to 1,220 people recorded in the morning. The victims are currently being housed in 15 relief centres in the Kubang Pasu, Kota Star, Pokok Sena and Baling districts. Meanwhile, the Info Bencana JKM portal stated that the number of flood victims in Perlis also rose to 44 people compared to 42 people in the morning. A Malaysian Civil Defence Force spokesperson said that the evacuees are being housed in one relief centre at Sekolah Kebangsaan Kubang Gajah in Arau. Now, many migrant workers come to Malaysia seeking a better life for themselves and their loved ones back home. Many achieve exactly that, but there are also those who face the grim reality of forced labour. Due to this, the government has introduced a new guidelines focusing on prevention, protection, prosecution and partnership to stem forced labour in Malaysia. FMT's Natasha Buse spoke to 2 victims of forced labour in filing this report.
Like many migrant workers, Joseph Paley came to Malaysia dreaming of a better future. But the dream quickly turned into a nightmare. First, his employer confiscated his passport. Then came the abuse.
When I worked in under one boss, that boss used to abuse me, using a vulgar language against me, and he used to beat me.
He wanted to escape, but there were other problems.
No passport, no permit, no salary, no money. Where can I go?
In the end, the Indian national managed to escape. But it is a different story for other migrant workers who are victims of forced labour. Malaysia's stand on forced labour is clear. The federal constitution strictly prohibits it, but bad bosses mean it is still very much a reality. In a bid to put a stop to this deplorable practice, the government will be issuing new guidelines on forced labour. Part of the National Action Plan on Forced Labour, the initiative focuses on prevention, victim protection, prosecution, and partnership. For victims of forced labour such as 52-year-old Joseph, the guidelines are good news.
Okay, so definitely it is very good for the laborers, employers. Okay, employees and employees, it is very good. Well, so in my opinion, there is a awareness. We must create awareness among the employees, especially foreigners, foreign laborers.
Another victim, Siva Umidi, says the guidelines could ensure migrant workers have a voice.
Yeah, it's a very good idea because we are suffering from a very difficult life situation we are facing in Malaysia. This was very helpful to us, very much because we have no one to help in Malaysia.
The 20-year-old came from India as an electrician, but was instead forced to do back-breaking construction work. Both Joseph and Siva were fortunate to have been rescued by the North-South Initiative, an NGO that helps migrants. But what about those who have not been rescued? Will the guidelines actually make a difference? SME Association Malaysia Secretary General Chin Chee Seong says the guidelines must be paired with strong enforcement.
I think the guidelines will be helpful, or else a lot of employers will unknowingly cross a line, resulting in them getting summoned. Sometimes the employer may feel that they are not doing anything wrong, but the employees may have complaints because they feel something is wrong.
The new guidelines should boost efforts to combat forced labor. Now it is up to all stakeholders, employers, employee groups, the government and the public to do their part to bring an end to forced labor. Natasha Bust, FMT4 Nightline.
Powerful blast injures 162. This and more when we return. To the foreign front, Nagorno-Karabakh authorities have ordered the dismantling of the region's state institutions by the end of the year, saying that the separatist state will cease existing as of January 1st, 2024. The decision came in a decree signed by the separatist region's leader, President Samvel Shahramanian, on Thursday, calling for all institutions and organizations of the Republic of Artsakh, which is not recognized internationally, to dissolve by the start of next year. Under the agreement, Azerbaijan will allow the free, voluntary and unhindered movement of Nagorno-Karabakh residents. Shahramanian said the decision had been made due to the current difficult military-political situation, with the document also citing the ceasefire agreement last week. Azerbaijan stated that the outcome is a triumphant restoration of sovereignty over the area, while for Armenians it is a defeat and a national tragedy. The separatist enclave is internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, including by Armenia, but has been populated by a majority of ethnic Armenians who have sought to unify with Yerevan following the collapse of the Soviet Union. Thai police have seized more than 15 million methamphetamine pills and other illegal substances worth over $8 million in one of the largest drug hauls in the kingdom's history. Authorities on Thursday said the overall street value of the bust was $8.15 million. adding that the drugs were produced in a neighboring country. 4 people were reportedly arrested in connection with the bust, which include 420 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine, as well as heroin at her home in Nakhon Pathom province, north of the capital Bangkok. According to a report by United Nations, trafficking of synthetic drugs in East and Southeast Asia is surging, with high volumes of methamphetamine still being produced from the Golden Triangle region, where the borders of Myanmar, Thailand and Laos meet. The region has a long history of illicit drug production and has recently served as a massive production center for amphetamine-type stimulants, especially methamphetamine, used by Asian crime syndicates with distribution networks reaching as far as Japan and New Zealand. A powerful explosion struck a warehouse near the airport of Uzbekistan's capital Tashkent overnight on Thursday, killing a 16-year-old youth, injuring at least 160 people and causing extensive damage. According to officials, 138 people sustained minor injuries and a further 24 were still in hospital in more serious conditions. The powerful blast, which occurred around 3 a.m. local time in the Sergeli district, sent shockwaves throughout the city and was followed by a massive fire. The blast blew out the windows of several houses in the surrounding area and damaged their interiors. Authorities have opened an investigation into the cause of the blast that hit the warehouse belonging to the Interlogistics company, with some 1,000 troops now involved in dealing with the consequences of the incident. Horseman Kabil's bold gamble pays off. Sports when we come back. Sports, the 2023 Hangzhou Asian Games. The national contingent bagged 1 gold and 1 bronze medals on Thursday. The gold came from the national top jockey Muhammad Kabil Amba Muhammad Fatil, who created history by winning equestrian's first ever gold medal in the Asian Games by riding away with the individual dressage. During the competition held at Tonglu Equestrian Centre, Kabil, who was reunited with favourite horse Rosentals, produced a dazzling performance that mesmerised the judges, who awarded 75.780 points for the country's veteran equestrian rider to win his first Asian Games gold. On his way to the gold, Qabil also defeated defending champion Xu Jacqueline from Hong Kong, who managed 73.450 points for the silver, while India's Anush Agarwala took the bronze with 73.030 points. For the record, Qabil had managed a silver at the 2018 Asian Games in Jakarta, Palembang, Indonesia, and 2 bronze medals at the 2010 Guangzhou Asian Games in China and 2006 Doha Asian Games in Qatar, respectively, in the same event. Meanwhile, the only bronze of the day came from the track cycling event. Shah Firdaus Sahrum, who won Malaysia a bronze medal in the men's individual sprint after he beat Chinese Xuan Chenxi in both rounds of the bronze playoff to clinch the country's 3rd medal in cycling. It is Malaysia's 5th bronze in this edition of the Games. Turning to cycling, the 2023 Le Tour de Langkawi Tudor Pro cycling team's Arvid de Klein backed up his opening day win with another emphatic victory in the 6th stage on Thursday. Despite a number of breakaways earlier in the day, the 174.5-kilometre stage from Karak to Bandar Hili Malacca ended with another bunch sprint in what was the hottest day of the tour so far. De Klein hit the finish line first in 4 hours, 8 minutes and 19 seconds. Human-powered held Sasha Wimas and Astana, Kazakhstan's Gleb Syriza settled for 2nd and 3rd, replicating the outcome of the first stage last week. The win further strengthened De Klein's grip on the orange jersey as the sprinters' classification leader. EF Education Easy Post Simon Carr leads the overall standing with a 49-second advantage over second-place teammate Jefferson Alexander Cepeda. Simon Pello of Tudor Pro remains in the lead in the mountains classification with a 32-point lead, while Astana Kazakhstan Vadim Kronsky keeps the white jersey as the best Asian rider. The 7th stage on Friday will start in Muar and end in Seremban Dua, covering a total distance of 123.8 kilometers, with sprint points on offer at Mumbai, Cheng and Lingi. When we return, newborn baby found abandoned. Stay tuned. Has ignited a discussion on the potential implementation of mandatory voting. Proponents argue that a mandate could invigorate civic participation and ensure a more representative democracy, while critics raise concerns about individual freedoms and practical implementation. FMT's Danish Rajareza has a report.
If you don't want to vote, you can't complain. You've probably heard this phrase before or even used it yourself to highlight the importance of voting. And it is. Even businesses get into the act during election season, offering freebies or discounts for those with inked fingers. Yet, despite its importance and the incentives from businesses, many still forego their right to vote, a trend that's apparent in recent polls. So if the carrot doesn't work, should we look at using the stick? That's what some people think.
Bagi saya, penurunan wajib itu adalah satu perkara yang baik sebagai satu tanggungjawab kita lah untuk menentukan masa depan negara sebagai seorang rakyat yang berwibawa.
Others don't seem to think so.
Kalau wajib taklah, sebab tak semua orang yang akan dapat. Contohlah kalau katakan satu hari dibagi masa untuk mengundi, tak semua orang yang akan pergi dapat mengundi. So macam Satu lagi kalau macam tak ada masa ataupun dia tak sihat ke, tak dapat nak pergi mengundi. Lepas tu kalau wajib, boleh kenakan denda, macam tak fair lah.
There are also those who agree with the stick approach, but feel any punishment should not be excessive.
A fine should be okay because some people, they're just lazy to come out and vote, or you say, let others do, we just watch and see. So I think a fine should be okay, but not jail, definitely.
But if voting is to be made mandatory, Loretta says the process should be made more convenient for voters. This includes allowing people living outside of their constituencies to cast their ballots at the nearest voting centers. Thomas Fan of electoral watchdog Bersih, on the other hand, is completely against the idea of mandatory voting. His reason? Injustice.
One, as a matter of principle, voting is a right. That includes the right not to vote. And I think to compel someone to vote against their will, I believe, is not something that we want to go into.
Fan says it is also unfair to penalize those who face difficulties in voting, such as rural and overseas voters. Plus, it would be impractical to penalize non-voters, considering the significant number of people who don't vote. The way forward would be a focus on public education to encourage citizens to vote voluntarily, something Australia has done well. Danish Rajareza, FMT for Nightline.
The body of a newborn baby girl with her umbilical cord still attached was dumped in a waste container at a flat in Air Hitam, Pulau Pinang on Thursday. The shocking discovery was made by several garbage collectors when they spotted the baby's remains going into their garbage compactor truck at 10 a.m. Upon discovering the infant's unclothed body, the workers immediately alerted the police. North East District Police Chief ACP Sofian Santong, when contacted, confirmed that the body had been taken to the Pulau Pinang Hospital for a post-mortem. The case is being investigated under the Penal Code for concealment of birth by secret disposal of a dead body. And that wraps up this edition of Nightline. But before we go, let's take a look as Muslims across the country celebrate the Maulidur Rasul with programs including parades and salawat. These include Surau Al-Mujahirin in Bandar Seri Damansara, which celebrated the event with 3 kilometers of procession and Islamic talks. I'm Muhammad Ahmad Hamdan. Thanks for watching and stay safe.